meteorologist Tim Miller. Weather coverage you can count on. The Live 5 for 6 Skyview Network, sponsored by Terry Lambert Hyundai.
Well, here's a map we've not shown in quite some time. This is a map of the chance of severe weather from the Storm Prediction Center. It looks like all the counties across the CSRA have a chance of strong to severe thunderstorms tomorrow. We'll talk about that with your 5 for 6 forecast coming up.
It's been a good life, and I've been blessed to serve as First Lady of the United States. It gave me the ability then and all of my life since to use the influence that came with the position to give voice to those who may be powerless and to persuade the powerful to listen.
Right now on News Channel 6 at 4, celebrating the life of Rosalind Carter, how people are honoring her legacy. Also ahead, more local properties on the state of Georgia's Places of Peril list, this time in Columbia County. And serving the Aiken community while saving an annual event. Nonprofits coming together to provide a meal before Thanksgiving. News Channel 6 at 4 starts now.
Live from Television Park, this is WJBF News Channel 6 at 4.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Brad Means. We do thank you for joining us. And yes, coverage you can count on does begin with ceremonies being planned to celebrate the life of former First Lady Rosalind Carter. She died yesterday at the age of 96 at her home in Plains, Georgia.
The best thing I ever had happen in my life was when she said she would marry me, and did.
Rosalind Carter and former President Jimmy Carter married for 77 years. And there's our Atlanta Bureau Chief, Archith Seshadri, covering things from the Carter Center in Atlanta. Arch?
Brad, good evening to you. Yeah, we are here outside the Carter Center here in Atlanta. The mood here certainly somber as tributes continue to pour in. Just on Friday, we heard from the Carter Center that Mrs. Carter had entered a hospice, and Sunday news of her death broke. Many people that we spoke to who have spent time with Mrs. Carter, the former First Lady, say she was kind, empathetic, and dedicated to community service, spending many, many times at the Habitat for Humanity building homes, traveling around the world, improving human rights, as well as restoring faith, giving back to her community in Plains, Georgia at the Maranatha Baptist Church. We also spoke to many people who say that she was very close with her husband, holding his hand, spending time not just in the White House, but also at their small hometown in Plains, traveling wherever, relying on that support. She was an advocate of mental health rights as well as caregiving, also fighting for women's rights, and many people who remember her, including here at the Carter Center, say her legacy continues to this day.
Definitely a legacy of mental health and bringing that out of the closet, per se, and into the forefront. People talking about it much more than that.
We love the history of the presidents and the first ladies, so we love learning about what they accomplished while they were in office, and half of it we remember and the other half we don't.
Many people that we spoke to here also say they are excited to come and see a part of history, taking a look at the Carter Center, checking out the library as well as the museum. The Carters are also big sports fans, attending a lot of Braves games and Hawks games here in Atlanta, and sometimes they were just spotted on that Kiss Cam. The Carter Center says celebration of life events and funeral services are now set for next week, both in Atlanta and in Plains. We send our prayers and condolences to the Carter family. Reporting live outside the Carter Center in Atlanta, Archith Seshadri, WJBF News Channel 6.
Well, you heard Arch mention it, as well as that visitor at the Carter Center. Mrs. Carter used her position as First Lady both when Jimmy Carter served as Georgia's governor and his time as president to call attention to mental health. News Channel 6's Renetta Dubose joining us now with more on her passion for that cause.
And Brad, I spent the better part of the day reading about Rosalind Carter's leadership and mental health. And for 50 years, she pioneered and championed the cause for those who need it. But a lot of the mental health professionals locally I spoke with were not aware of all of her tireless efforts. Now, her work started in 1971 when Jimmy Carter served as governor of Georgia. Media reports state it was her husband's cousin Tommy and his battle with mental illness that got her started. As First Lady of the state, she worked with the Governor's Commission to improve services to the mentally and emotionally handicapped. And in 1980, during her husband's presidency, she helped pass the Mental Health Systems Act of 1980, which provided grants to community mental health centers. Now, we spoke with Family Counseling Center of the CSRA, and the executive director says Carter's work only scratched the surface.
Yes, mental health is continues to be stigmatized for a lot of different reasons. My job is not easy. I do not have the support of the community that we live in. We do not, mental health organizations, we do not have the support of the state in the way to support our people.
Selena Keys there saying Family Counseling Center of the CSRA is at the brink of having its doors closed due to lack of funding. Certainly, this is the opposite of what the former First Lady works so passionately for. Brad.
Renetta, thank you. And as you might imagine, tributes are pouring in for the former First Lady. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp releasing this statement. He said, "Marty, the girls and I join all in mourning the loss of former First Lady Rosalind Carter, a proud native Georgian. She had an indelible impact on our state and nation as a First Lady to both." The governor says President Carter and his family are in our prayers. It is time now to take an historic home in Martinez is in jeopardy, according to
Some survey that will produce some gusty winds and the possibility of some pretty heavy rain. We will talk more about that as Thanksgiving is also 3 days away. And will that affect the Thanksgiving Day forecast? We'll answer that in just a few minutes. Brad.
All right, Tim, thanks. An historic home in Martinez is in jeopardy. According to the Georgia Trust for Historic Preservation, it's one of the state's 10 places in peril for 2024. Hannah Latier has the story.
Cedar Grove was built in 1851 and has an interesting and somewhat mysterious backstory. Several prominent people in Columbia County owned it after the Civil War. Our Savior Episcopal Church bought the property in 1964 and used the home as a sanctuary before building its main building right in front of it. It's not currently being used because of mold and structural issues. The rector at the church hopes that by being on the places in peril list, it will bring awareness to revitalizing the property.
I'm appreciative of the efforts in the community and around the state, quite honestly, of those who have shown some interest thus far, and I'm eager to see where this is going to go.
To find out how you can help save the home, visit us at WJBF.com. In Martinez, Hannah Latier, WJBF News Channel 6.
Well, it's been nearly 2 months since we found out Aiken's One Table event would take a year off, but this week, the Salvation Army is going to have a community dinner in its place. They partnered with Aiken One Table last year, and the event saw close to 1,500 people get together for fellowship and food, and they're expecting the same turnout this year. One Table was canceled because they didn't have the kitchen to do it, but the Salvation Army wanted to make sure nobody goes hungry for Thanksgiving.
It meant something to make sure that we just continue to have it. We hope and pray that One Table comes back in full force. We partnered with them last year to make sure that happened, and when they said they were unable to do it this year, I said, well, you know what, well, Salvation Army will step up. That's what we're here for, to meet human need without discrimination.
The Salvation Army's Thanksgiving event is going to be Thursday morning at their location there on Park Avenue. Augusta city leaders taking part in a day of service ahead of Thanksgiving. Today, commissioners rolled up their sleeves to help serve food at the master's table at Golden Harvest. Volunteers from the mayor's office and others handed out hot meals. They say it was to give back to the people of Richmond County.
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, we're public servants, but we need to be serving community. Wanted to bring the whole team together in a way to serve the community. We've got the administrator's office here, the clerk's office here, and 5 or 6 commissioners, so it's a great way to give back.
The Augusta Tax Commissioner's office is expected to help out on Wednesday. Tomorrow on Jenny. How many of you will be putting up that tree after you put away the stuffing and pumpkin pie? Well, we have some ornaments you'll want to add to your tree. The 2023 Easter Seals Ornaments of Hope, the ornament campaign, one of Easter Seals' biggest fundraisers. And this year, the honor of being featured goes to 2 historic churches in the CSRA.
And this is their 150th anniversary.
It certainly is, and as you know, included with the process of developing the ornaments, we do some historical research and like to get some good information available to those who purchase the ornament. In the case of the Springfield Baptist Church, 150 years as a congregation in the same location, and the little piece that comes along with the ornament kind of explains that process.
We'll let you know how you can get one of those beautiful ornaments, and it's easier this year. Plus, the Augusta Broadway Singers Holiday Show and the Winter Wonderland Spectacular at AU's Somerville campus. We're all about the holidays tomorrow at 12:30 on Jenny. And all week long, we're going to mark a milestone here at News Channel 6. 70 years ago, November 26th, 1953, WJBF went on the air for the very first time. And in that 70 years, we have known some unforgettable names and faces who have graced your screen. One of them, former WJBF reporter Frank Thomas. In 1971, he became the first African-American reporter here at WJBF, something he recently told us was not easy.
These kids said, "Take my picture, take my picture." And so apparently they figured I had not taken that picture, so they yelled out, "Take my picture," and they used the N-word. So I said to myself, I said, now, you know, here I am. I started not to come back south. Here I am going through this.
Frank Thomas, always so good to see you. Join us, won't you, on News Channel 6 at 5 when we catch up with more of our former colleagues. We'll be looking back at the history of WJBF all week long. And we have much more on the history of our station at WJBF.com. Coming up right here, judges across South Carolina hearing adoption cases, and for good reason. The state declared today Adoption Day.
Thursday, and now I'm bringing back some rain chances for Friday, but right now the weekend looks to be nice and seasonable temperatures. That's your forecast.
All right, Tim, thanks a lot. Is there a good or bad time to get extra sleep? Coming up, we'll tell you the ideal time to take your Thanksgiving nap. 9-9. If you plan to take a nice nap after Thanksgiving dinner, you're not alone. And now we know the best time to do it. A Sleep Review survey found the perfect nap starts exactly at 2:57 p.m. That's right after the first football game ends, and it lasts 42 minutes. If you're the one who cooks Thanksgiving dinner, you can take those naps as a compliment. A sign your guests were happy with their meal. Most people say they're more likely to take naps during the holiday season than any other time of the year. Nothing like a good nap. There is a lot more coverage you can count on at 4:30, including this nation remembering its former First Lady, Rosalind Carter, her life and legacy, and her true American love story with the 39th president. Next.
It's Christmas time again at Carolina Pottery. Shop and save on our variety of decorating themes. From traditional to whimsical, we've got the style you need with hundreds of value-priced products to choose from. Visit carolinapottery.com or a store near you.
Black Friday.
Wow, shop our Thanksgiving weekend sale and save on your favorite Christmas decor. Stock up on ornaments, wreaths, ribbon, Christmas trees, and more. Visit carolinapottery.com to find the location nearest you and view our sale ad.
The Live Viper 6 Skyview Network, sponsored by Terry Lambert Hyundai.
Well, here's something we've not seen in quite a long time. This is an opportunity of severe weather across parts of the CSRA. What does that mean for tomorrow? We'll dive into a full Viper 6 forecast straight ahead.
Right now on News Channel 6 at 6, remembering First Lady Rosalind Carter. We're going to hear from lawmakers and supporters about her legacy.
Plus, a historic home in danger of being demolished. What a local church is doing to try and save it.
And feeding everyone for the holidays, what the Salvation Army is doing for Thanksgiving in Aiken. As News Channel 6 at 6 starts now.
Live from Television Park, this is WJBF News Channel 6 at 6.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jenny Montgomery.
I'm Brad Means. We do thank you for joining us as coverage you can count on begins with tributes pouring in to honor former First Lady Rosalind Carter. She died at the age of 96 down in Plains, Georgia, Sunday afternoon.
Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, U.S. Senator John Ossoff, and President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden expressing their concerns, remembering the former First Lady for her service to the community.
Our Atlanta Bureau Chief Archith Seshadri live tonight at the Carter Center in Atlanta. Arch?
Yeah, Brad and Jenny, good evening to you. The mood outside the Carter Center here is still somber more than 24 hours after news broke of Mrs. Carter's death. Many people who worked with her or spent time with the former First Lady say she was a woman of kindness, empathy, service, and all about community. The 39th former First Lady fought many different causes, including caregiving, mental health, as well as women's rights. From the governor's mansion to the White House, Rosalind Carter was instrumental in also giving back to the community, investing in Habitat for Humanity for more than 3 decades, monitoring elections in Liberia, as well as fighting for human rights in Latin America. Faith also played a very important role for the Carters. They spent many, many Sundays together at the Maranatha Baptist Church in their hometown of Plains, Georgia, and after leaving the White House, they set up this legacy right here behind me, the Carter Center, to monitor elections, eradicate disease, and restore peace.
Definitely a legacy of mental health and bringing that out of the closet, per se, and into the forefront. People talking about it much more than that.
We love the history of the presidents and the first ladies, so we love learning about what they accomplished while they were in office, and half of it we remember and the other half we don't.
They also had a few fun moments outside of the White House and outside of their home. There were frequent fans of the Atlanta Braves and the Hawks. They sometimes sneaked in a kiss on the kiss cam, so you might have caught them there at one of those games. The Carter Center says the funeral services as well as celebration of life events take place next week, Monday through Wednesday, both in their hometown of Plains, Georgia, as well as here in Atlanta. We'll continue to track the developing story and bring you updates, but for now, reporting live outside the Carter Center, Archit Seshadri, WJBF News Channel 6.
Mrs. Carter used her position as First Lady for the state of Georgia and the United States to call attention to mental health. News Channel 6's Renetta Dubose joining us now with more on her passion for that cause.
Brad, I spent the better part of the day reading about Rosalind Carter's leadership in mental health. And for 50 years, she pioneered and championed the cause for those who needed it. But a lot of the mental health professionals I spoke with were not aware of her tireless efforts. Now, her work started in 1971 when Jimmy Carter served as governor of Georgia. Media reports state it was her husband's cousin Tommy and his battle with mental illness that was the driving force behind her work. As First Lady of the state, she worked with the Governor's Commission to improve services to the mentally and emotionally handicapped. And in 1980, during her husband's presidency, she helped pass the Mental Health Systems Act, which provided grants to community mental health centers. We spoke with Family Counseling Center of the CSRA, and the executive director says Carter's work only scratched the surface.
Yes, mental health is continued to be stigmatized for a lot of different reasons. My job is not easy. I do not have the support of the community that we live in. We do not, mental health organizations, we do not have the support of the state in the way to support our people.
Selena Key says Family Counseling Center of the CSRA is at the brink of having its doors closed due to lack of funding. Certainly, this is the opposite of what the former First Lady worked for so passionately. Jenny?
All right, Renetta, thank you so much. Messages of condolences are coming in from leaders across the two-state for First Lady Carter. Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock said, "Today we remember a mother and grandmother, a friend, a champion, and a woman who made a profound impact on the lives of countless individuals." Georgia Congressman Buddy Carter writing, "Carter was a light to all, a champion for mental health, leader in education, and will be deeply missed." South Carolina Senator Tim Scott saying, "As First Lady, Carter represented America with grace, and our nation is grateful for her legacy of true service."
It is time now for our first check of our weather.
Here's Chief Meteorologist. It's been nearly 2 months since we found out Aiken's one-table event would be taking a year off. But this week, the Salvation Army will have a community dinner in its place.
They partnered with Aiken One Table last year, Jenny. They saw close to 1,500 people show up for fellowship and food, all sorts of good times there, and they say they think they'll hit that number again this year. They didn't have the kitchen to pull it off at One Table, but the Salvation Army said, look, we have to make sure that nobody goes hungry.
It meant something to make sure that we just continue to have it. We hope and pray that One Table comes back in full force. We partnered with them last year to make sure that happened, and when they said they were unable to do it this year, I said, well, you know what, Salvation Army will step up That's what we're here for, to meet human need without discrimination.
The Salvation Army's Thanksgiving event will be this Thursday morning at their location on Park Avenue. All week long, we'll be marking a milestone here at News Channel 6.
70 years ago, November 26, 1953, WJBF went on the air for the very first time. And in that 70 years, we've known some unforgettable names and faces who've graced your screen.
One of them was former WJBF reporter Frank Thomas. In 1971, he became the first African-American reporter at WJBF. Something he recently told us wasn't easy.
These kids said, take my picture. Take my picture. And so apparently they figured I had not taken that picture, so they yelled out, take my picture, and they used the N-word. So I said to myself, now you know, here I am. I started not to come back south. Here I am going through this.
Be sure to join us, won't you, on News Channel 6 at 5 when we catch up with more of our former colleagues.
We'll be looking back at the history of WJBF all week, and we have much more of the history of our station on WJBF.com.
Coming up, tackling tough issues in America.
We'll hear from experts on the issue of religion after the break.